10 things we hate about rom-coms. We see stalking, following, and sabotaging relationships.
I'm gonna make you wish you were dead.
Running through the airport, chasing somebody down,
Holding the boombox.
holding the boombox. How many girls need to be saved from wolves? And it looks great on camera, and it feels wonderful, and the music swells, and that's not how real life works.
Just shut up. You had me at hello.
Happy Valentine's Day, chumps.
Happy freaking Valentine's Day. I hope you're in love, and it's beautiful.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Therapy. Happy Valentine's Week. I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist. I love movies. I love love, and I love you.
I'm Alan Seawright, professional filmmaker. I need therapy, and part of the reason I need therapy is what Jono just did.
Valentine's is a week of
fun.
creepers. The creepers come out. And that
True.
is on point for our episode today. 10 things we hate about rom-coms. Do we hate rom-coms themselves?
I love rom-coms. Rom-coms are great. Romantic comedies, for those not up with the lingo.
I'm so glad you're here to tell us these things.
I slept last night, just
Here's
not
the
very
thing.
much.
Even though we use movies to teach real-life principles, movies are not reality. You can't actually outrun machine gun fire. You generally can't walk away from explosions.
You can, but you'll get burned really badly.
And so the rules of movies are not the rules of reality. And the thing is, that's especially true, or just as true, in romantic comedies. Mm-hmm. And so there are a lot of tropes that pop up again and again and again. Every genre has tropes.
Sure.
Right? In horror movies, it's the final girl. In action movies, it's, being able to walk away from an explosion without looking back, whatever it is. In romantic comedies, there's many of them. The biggest difference is that in real life, most of us aren't fighting serial killers in masks. Most of us aren't in machine gun fights. But a lot of us will enter into romantic relationships. And if we're not careful, we can imbibe these lessons and accept them as, this is my goal.
This is
what I
how
want.
life is supposed to be.
Yeah. So we're going to break down 10 of our least favorite tropes in romantic comedies,
Giddy up.
all while sharing some love for the rom-coms and talking about what would be a healthy substitute for these tropes in real life.
Absolutely. Can I start?
Please do.
My number one least favorite romantic comedy trope is the makeover. Have you seen She's All That? Mm-hmm. She's All That was big when we were teenagers. And it's awful. It's truly awful. First of all, it is hilarious that Rachel Lee Cook was not the pretty girl when she had glasses on. Mm-hmm.
It's an insult to glasses-wearing people everywhere. Like, you put on glasses and suddenly, oh, well, there you went. You had your shot.
Taking off your glasses, fixing your hair, putting on, tighter or more revealing clothes. This is generally a thing for women.
For female characters.
For female characters. There's
Yeah.
there's a different version of this trope that I think we're going to get to for men.
For men, yeah, absolutely. But for women, it's tied to the idea that your worth is based on your appearance.
Right.
And how romantically appealing you are is based on your appearance. Now, we're not saying you shouldn't care about hygiene or presenting yourself as your best.
Sure.
What we're challenging and pushing back on is your worth is your looks. And sometimes it's not about whether or not you're attractive, but whether or not you're classy or whether or not you fit in. So Pretty Woman, obviously, she's Julia Roberts. She's stunning no matter what.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is she is now societally acceptable because she dresses like the upper crust. Yeah, I much prefer stories like Shrek, where we challenge this notion because who you are is what really matters most, right?
Right.
She falls in love with Shrek, the ogre. He falls in love with her, the woman. They're both kind of physically hideous to each other, but they fall in love with what's underneath, and then they're actually perfectly matched up.
So, Jono, I think I will actually push back on you a little bit about that because she goes through a reverse makeover that's so extreme. Because normally you get made over to become prettier. She gets made over to become ogre-ier.
Yeah, which actually leads us to the second of the tropes,
Hit me with it.
which is the transformation. So the makeover is a change in physical appearance, right? And this says you have to look pretty or look handsome in order to be acceptable and in order to be attractive. The magical transformation usually happens with female characters because there's a male version that we're going to talk about later. But it's you have to change an aspect of who you are, like a psycho-emotional transformation.
Sure.
Like Sandy in Grease is a perfect example of this. Now, granted, she has a physical transformation as well to signal what's gone on inside her, but she's saying, hey, I'm not a good girl anymore. Look at me, I'm Sandra Dee, flaunting my virginity, or however that song goes, or whatever the lyrics.
I don't think it's that.
Flashing your V card everywhere you go.
Keep your filthy paws off my silky drawers.
In order for Danny to find her attractive, she has to go bad girl. Now, in fairness, that's what she thinks.
Right.
He was already totally into her, but we see this over and over and over again, where characters have to it's not even overcoming a flaw. That's beautiful. That's character growth. I'm talking about, this is just who they are, and they've got to let it go. And they've got to become somebody else so that the other person will want them.
This means so much to me, because I know now that you respect me.
Well, and I think the classic example of the magical transformation is the Little Mermaid, right? Mm-hmm. Because she has to completely change from one species to another in order to even
Right.
exist in the same area.
And then Ursula, of course, is peddling this nonsense. I mean, she is the villain, but the idea that
You'll have your looks, your pretty face, and don't underestimate the importance of body language. Ha!
And here's the troubling thing about Little Mermaid. Ursula's absolutely right. Like, Eric falls for Ariel because of her, her singing and her beauty. But then, like, Eric doesn't need to get to know Ariel. She just needs to be shy and demure and beautiful. And that's the dangerous thing about that's why my wife doesn't like.
Eric's really terrible.
My parents didn't like Little Mermaid because of the seashell bra. They're like, you guys don't look. My wife doesn't like it because the female character loses her voice, which actually is okay if that's like, if Ursula makes that claim and Ariel loses her voice and then the film challenges Ursula's assertion.
Yeah, and then
somehow.
Eric's like, I mean, you're real pretty and everything, but like we have nothing in common. We have nothing to talk about.
Yeah. Or like he learns sign language if we're going to make this
Sure.
a 4-hour movie.
Great, let's
right?
do that.
But the fact is, Ursula makes that claim and Ariel's like, cool.
Cool, I'm down. And Eric's like, totally. She's real pretty. Let's get married.
So that's the transformation, which feeds in the next one because Eric sees Ariel, she rescues him, he hears her sing, and then...
Love at first sight, baby.
Is that a thing in real life?
No.
Why not?
Love at first sight is not a thing because you don't know anything about the person except, oh, pretty. Look, I get it. It's Oscar Isaac. Once you get to know him, he's still Oscar Isaac. It'll be fine. Just wait a minute.
So this is love.
And that's the thing. How do we define love? We often mistake attraction for love.
Right.
Or infatuation for love. And that's because this is what movies have taught us to do. Right? Your eyes zing or bling or whatever it is on Hotel Transylvania. Mm-hmm. And suddenly that's it. And the problem is we then confuse love with attachment or attraction. And love is deeper than that. And then if I'm not feeling those fresh car new love feelings, it's like, oh, we don't have a
we're not
relationship.
in love anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact is, there have been times in my marriage, I know that I haven't felt a whole lot of love, or she didn't feel a whole lot of love towards me, but we still had love. Mm-hmm. Because, little counterpoint, Dan in real life.
Love isn't a feeling.
No?
It's an ability.
Love is selfless, love is kind, love is giving, love is sacrificing. Love is also about healthy boundaries. Love is also about respect. Love is also about being there for each other, being dependable, being reliable, forgiving. It's a million things that aren't wrapped up in just this kind of...
Looking good.
Yeah, this dopamine rush, that happens. Because that's what love is. So there's no such thing as love at first sight. Shame on you, Hollywood. Shame.
Shame. Shame.
Now, if you're interested in having healthy, long-lasting relationships, rom-coms won't get you there. Our courses on our membership site, thecinematherapy.com, where we talk about how to build healthy, lasting relationships, the things that I would teach you in therapy, I teach you right there.
He has a master's degree in this.
But nobody calls me master.
In time, you will call me master.
Number 4 is The Rescue. Mm-hmm. How many movies where the girl gets rescued by the knight in shining armor type?
Oh, jeez. How many girls need to be saved from wolves? Have you ever been saved by a man from a wolf attack? If you have, please let us know in the comments because I want to hear about this.
How many of us actually encounter wolves in real life? Now, to be fair, should you see someone being attacked by wolves, we do want
Please
you
help
to help them.
Yes, please help them right now.
But not to win their love and affection, just because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
Hashtag save a life, kill a wolf.
We like wolves. We just don't want them to eat us.
Save a life, rub a wolf belly. Also works on Alan when he's irritable. It's the bowels. So, sorry.
We've seen it in a bunch of animated films and A Christmas Prince, I think. Mm-hmm. I love those movies.
A
Have you
Christmas
seen those
Prince
movies?
hits all 10 of what we're talking about
It's
today.
everything. It's magic. A Christmas Prince is the best, worst movie. One fun inversion to this trope, though, Frozen, where they get attacked by wolves.
Yeah.
And Anna kind of saves Kristoff.
Yeah.
Well, and he kind of there's
she
a lot of
defends herself.
mutual saving
Yeah.
going on. Yeah.
There's no rescuing. We're fighting this together.
Right.
And there's movies where the girl rescues the guy and things like that.
She's gonna fight my battles for me.
But the fact is, in real life, Speed actually has it right when they say,
I have to warn you. I've heard relationships based on intense experiences never work.
And they didn't, because Keanu Reeves didn't want to come back for the second one.
wah wah, but he did come back for Lake House, which is also wah wah.
Terrible.
It's terrible. That's terrible.
It's terrible.
Keanu needs to be killing something or playing an air guitar. Those are my rules for Keanu.
What if he was playing an air guitar and killing something?
If you fall in love with your rescuer, Freud called that transference. Of course, Freud made everything sexual.
Everything is sex.
Everything is sex, and you are in love with your rescuer.
What a weird dude. Which leads me to the next trope. It's charming because he's attractive.
In real life, it would be a restraining order.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Twilight is basically this. Over and over and over.
And 50 Shades.
50 Shades. Look, all of the Twilight ilk, 50 Shades, 365 Days.
After.
They're all just like Twilight vomit.
Well, and if you listen to the fans of those series, it's all about how attractive the guy is.
Yeah, if you read Twilight, like, the only descriptors about Edward are how pretty he is for, like, hundreds of pages, and then it's like, he's also, like, smart, I guess. Like, it's, ugh. It's
And
gross.
I've seen a meme going around that if 50 Shades, if he weren't a rich, handsome billionaire, if he were some guy in a trailer park, he'd be in jail.
Yeah.
We see like stalking and following and sabotaging relationships, doing 2 dates at once, like trying to juggle 2 days at once is the thing that we keep seeing.
Being really pushy, being controlling, not taking no for an answer. You know, all of these things, if it's an attractive, rich person doing it, is like, oh, well, they're just really into me or whatever.
And if it's a
this,
Hallmark
by the
movie-
way, goes both ways, but it's
Yeah.
primarily men who are doing it to women
Yeah.
in movies. And it's, ugh.
If it's a Hallmark movie, they're attractive but secretly rich, right? You only find out at the end.
It's the Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah,
maneuver.
or yeah, also Crazy Rich Asians. Yeah, it's great.
Although we get that out of the way in like the second scene. You know what's a rom-com trope that you never see? Liking, subscribing, and hitting the bell so that you get notifications on your phone.
Wow, that was perfect. I can tell you write screenplays for a living. That was smart and concise. Which now I want to talk about the fixer-upper. We talked earlier about the magical transformation, where the female character has to change something foundational to who she is in order to win the affections of the man or to keep him. We see the fixer-upper is the male version of this. And this is the thing, as somebody who has, my entire life, I've tried to be just like a good, decent person. And one of the things I hate about romantic comedies is good, decent people are always boring.
Super boring.
They're always boring. They're always the safe choice. They're always like, he's nice, but he's the wrong guy. And it's really the bad boy.
You want the bad boy who's going to fix himself because of your magic face.
Because of your magic face and your love.
My magic sex will fix broken boy.
And then there's almost always a wedding that has to be broken up. We see this in Sleepless in Seattle when she's with Bill Pullman, and Bill Pullman's just bland and vanilla and boring. We see this in Runaway Bride where he's not bland and vanilla and boring. He's a rock climber football coach.
Sure.
But he's also bland, vanilla, and boring somehow.
He's a small town guy, and what you really need is a sophisticated big city man.
Yeah. Now, I did like in Sweet Home Alabama, the guy she's with, even though they had to break up that relationship, he was actually a gentleman and didn't do like a third act. I'm actually a
He
jerk.
didn't do a heel turn, yeah.
Yeah, where she actually had 2 decent guys to choose from. But this whole thing where awful men leave behind a lifetime of misogyny and womanizing. This is almost every Matthew McConaughey rom-com ever made.
The Matthew
Ghost of
McConaughey
Girlfriend's Past is super notorious for this.
Ugh.
And they'll just, in an instant, have this incredible change of heart because of your love, and they're going to be fine. Now, it plays well on screen because we like character arcs and we like these things to happen in an hour and a half. But the real truth of the matter is I watch every one of those and I'm like, yeah, we'll see in a few months if he's still okay with just her or if he misses the variety of...
Yeah, 4 months from now, he's cheating.
Yeah, right? Or if he's actually left behind his misogyny, because in real life, a lot of these guys play the part, or they think that they've changed, but they haven't actually done the work. And they have no idea. Matthew McConaughey, rom-com Matthew McConaughey, I don't know about Matthew McConaughey in real life. He seems like a lovely guy, and I'm sure he's fine. But rom-com Matthew McConaughey is not... All these characters have no idea how to maintain a healthy, committed relationship.
Right.
None whatsoever. But, you know, he's a fixer-upper, and it's the whole song in Frozen, right?
You can fix this fixer-upper up with a little bit of love.
I hate that song.
I do like the inversion of this in Hitch, though, where instead of him being Albert Brenneman, and Hitch, both of them, instead of being fixer-uppers, they're goofy.
They were enough already. They were trying to hide it, but they shouldn't have been.
Yeah, and when the women saw who they really were, that's what they wanted, not the change that they thought they had to make.
Otherwise known as the breaker downer.
No.
The Wreck-It Ralpher?
No, gosh.
You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you?
The Knock It Upper.
That's a different one.
I'm pregnant.
With a baby?
Yes.
You hit a guy with glasses. That's well played.
Well, and that actually kind of ties to my next point that I wanted to make. Miscommunication or lack of communication, where you either just talk right past each other and don't understand what each other is saying, or there's like a key piece of information that any normal human would share.
Yeah.
And
right.
we didn't, and it basically broke up the relationship.
Yeah.
And when I say any normal human, what I mean is, actually, no, in real life, a lot of normal humans don't communicate well either. This is not something we've learned from rom-coms. I just hate seeing it there because I hate it when it happens to me.
Or like Serendipity, when she thinks she sees him, or he thinks he sees her with some other guy, and it's really her sister that looks a lot like her, and he's really...
In Hitch, when she does the investigative journalism, and she finds a bad source who basically lies to her about what Hitch does.
Yeah, yeah.
And she doesn't ask him, she just like runs with it without even trusting him.
Now, in real life, we all tend to be insecure and jump to conclusions, and because we've been hurt, we assume the worst. Like, that is something that happens in real life, but I agree with you. It's really frustrating to see it on screen because we can be better. We can all be better.
Yeah. Well, and Crazy Rich Asians, I mentioned that before.
Which I love, by the way, though.
It is a great film. It starts off with this.
His name is Nick Young.
The Nick you're dating is Nick Young?
Like, the whole... I mean, they get past it actually fairly quickly, that she's just like accepting, oh, okay, you're from a family like this. Then his family can't accept her. But the whole movie starts on the premise of, so we've been dating for a year and you know nothing about me.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Because I've been lying this whole time.
Yeah.
Whoopsie.
But surprise, I'm super rich, so the lie is actually like a bonus.
I own this airline. That is such a flex.
My family has business with the airline. The tickets, they're a perk.
One of the quickest ways to create drama in a love story is to have a love triangle.
The rhombus?
The rhombus, yeah.
The rhombus of infinite subjugation.
Our female fans in the comments, I want to hear from you. Does it appeal to you to watch a film with a love triangle? I assume it appeals to you, where there's one woman and two men fighting over her. I assume it appeals to you the same way it appeals to guys to watch James Bond and there's 3 or 4 women.
Sure,
You know, just like...
I mean, who doesn't want... like
to be
2 or 3
by...
attractive, lovely people to be in love with them at once.
Yeah.
That sounds great until you actually have to deal with it. And then you're like, this is miserable.
The Office did a great job with that when Angela thought it was great that Dwight and Andy were fighting over her until it blew up in her face.
Right.
Protect her from what? Bears, you idiot?
But when they're like, we'll fight in the parking lot, she's like, I will accept the results of the contest. Like, whoever beats up the other will be... But love triangles in real life, they do happen. Sometimes you fall in love with...
pretty regularly.
Yeah, with like your best friend's girl, or you fall in love with like...
your roommate's guy, or whatever it is.
Yeah, like all sorts of...
Sure.
So, first of all, I would say that if they're in a healthy, committed relationship, this isn't Love Actually. If they're taken, game over. Don't stand out there with your stupid little cue cards and boombox and try and have a moment.
It's
right?
cute in a movie. It's terrible if you do it for real. Also, Keira Knightley was 17 when they filmed that. Gross.
And in Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 2 is a rom-com in disguise.
Oh, Spider-Man 2, it's not even in disguise.
Like all the tropes, she's in love with the bland vanilla guy who's totally wrong for her. Then there's another bland vanilla guy with superpowers who also wants her, you know. It's just like every rom-com ever made.
Pretty much.
But the wedding has to be broken up. And okay, so how do you deal with a love triangle in real life? I've never been in one. The love triangles I deal with in therapy are usually, I'm married and then you slept with my husband. So I don't think that's a love triangle. I think that's a wrecking ball.
That's just, yeah.
In the comments, how would you deal with a love triangle? Because we're actually drawing a blank on this one. In real life, how would you deal with it? How do you choose? Now, a love triangle is different from a throuple, just so you know.
Right. Well, one way that you could get out of a love triangle is by performing the big romantic gesture.
Home run! That's your segue? So you win because your gesture is bigger?
Yes, I win because my gesture is bigger.
So size doesn't matter. Oh, gosh.
Every time a character runs through the airport, except the little kid in Love Actually when he does it, because that was cute as hell.
It's adorable, yeah.
But, you know, running through the airport, chasing somebody down, The meeting somebody in the street when they're about to get in the taxi. I mean, how many times have we seen
Holding the boombox.
holding the boombox?
Here's the thing about big romantic gestures. In movies, it's done because some character made some huge, dumbass, pig-headed mistake that they couldn't
have to
possibly
atone for it.
They couldn't possibly come back from. But movie's almost over, so they have to do something big.
Well, they could come back from it, but the way you come back from that in real life is
Consistent change of character and behavior.
you got another 3 hours for us to sit here and watch this guy just like be really thoughtful and just here for the woman.
Yeah.
In
Or her
small
for the,
ways.
or her for the man.
You can't have that happen in a movie, is we don't have 3 hours to sit there and be bored while people are just decent to each other.
Well, while people slowly make the transformation in their behavior that it takes in real life.
Exactly. You got to have an arc, and it is fun to have a big dramatic payoff. And it looks great on camera, and it feels wonderful, and the music swells, and that's not how real life works.
No.
Just shut up. You had me at hello.
Well, and the big problem with this is that if we're expecting big romantic gestures, we start to feel like the thrill is gone in our relationship because we're just day in, day out, we're doing, like my big
just
romantic
doing the work.
gesture is I clean the entire kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Which doesn't have the same punch and pizzazz as
Next
summoning a
time,
marching band, you know?
Clean the entire kitchen with a marching band.
There you go.
Your wife would love it.
No, she wouldn't. Number 10 is enemies to lovers. Now, so many movies, they hate each other's guts and then they're perfect for each other. In real life, if you hate each other's guts, usually that's where it stays.
Probably a reason.
My sister is the one person I've ever known. Every love story I've ever heard, I've ever talked to someone, a couple stayed together and they work things out and they're happy. They had the meet cute is more common, you know, where they meet and there's chemistry, or they meet and there's really nothing there and then they get to know each other and something develops. But where they meet and it's awful.
It's just a disaster and they hate each other, and then they learn to love each other over time, because it turns out.
I've known hundreds, maybe thousands of couples in my life. There's exactly one where this happened, and it was my sister.
It was your sister?
Went on her first date with a man who would be her husband. Her exact words when she came home was, whatever that was.
Oh, wow.
And when he asked her out a second time, she was so morbidly curious as to why.
Why would you do this to yourself?
We had an awful time.
How could you have had fun?
We were bored, and we fought off the bat on every subject imaginable. Like, we both had really strong opinions and were disgusted by each other's opinions. Why would you do this? So she said yes out of sheer morbid curiosity, and then that turned into a thing. But that's the exception, not the rule. Far more often, enemies don't turn to lovers. We have a hard enough time in the world getting enemies to be friends.
Right.
Or even just to call a ceasefire.
Right.
So it makes for great drama.
Sure. I mean, there's a reason that Pride and Prejudice is still a classic 200 years later.
And I do love the idea that you could fundamentally misjudge somebody on your first blush and that there's something there that you didn't see before.
What's there, Mama?
Absolutely. And that's where, again, Pride and Prejudice, I think, does a fairly good job is, they have a meet terrible.
Will you dance, Mr. Darcy?
Not if I can help it.
But it takes literally like a year or more for them to like get to know each other, learn more about each other, find these things out, and actually come to love each other.
Well, and their rough edges, they challenge each other to grow.
Sure.
The people they were at the beginning of Pride and Prejudice could never have worked.
Right.
It's where they end, and that's why that's a good story, is because the characters actually grow into a healthy relationship. They grow into becoming better people, and it's not a magical transformation, like you said. It's a year of their lives to even get there, and so that's beautiful. And in real life, yeah, absolutely.
As with most things, Jane Austen is the better version.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Honorable mention for me is just rom-com tropes. Like, you can make a rom-com and not rely on the tropes. There are things you can do to invert the tropes. I actually thought Crazy Rich Asians did a great job of taking several pretty standard rom-com tropes and completely inverting them. I also unabashedly, unironically love A Christmas Prince because it hits every single one of these, and it hits them with a freaking sledgehammer. Like, it knows what it is. If you think it doesn't know what it is, you're wrong. Those people were geniuses. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Well, and there's something to be said for You can love any genre. You know, you can be into any genre, but watch movies with your brain turned on. Now, people have misunderstood when I've said that in the past. Like, well, that's the point of watching a movie, is so I can turn on my brain and just enjoy it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying you need to nitpick every little plot point. I'm saying be careful of what you're taking, because we're all about taking life lessons from movies.
Right.
But you have to know reality versus fiction.
Yeah.
So look, we watch romantic comedies for the same reason we watch anything. We want a rush of emotion in a short amount of time. We want to feel something. We want to laugh. We want to cry. We want to get the warm fuzzies and everything. I love romantic comedies. I'm not here to poo-poo them. I am saying real life is different. Just like I can't outrun machine gun fire.
I can, but I choose not to.
So for more on how to make a relationship work in real life, check out this Mended Light video right here where I go deep dive on that. Happy Valentine's Day, chumps.
Happy freaking Valentine's Day. I hope you're in love.
It's your
and it's beautiful. So until next time, you complete me.
Shut up, Alan. Just shut up. You had me at hello.
And watch movies. And quote them weirdly to your friend on camera.
Just two dudes chilling 6 feet apart saying romantic lines to each other because they might be gay.
You don't know.